Are you ready for the best damn sports radio show on the planet? Man Hour Nation, rise up.
You don't want to be every time, no. I would like to personally welcome you to Man Hour After Dark. Say that while I bring you the host, Mike, Buck, and Cone. You know who's coming to the stage. Sports talk than what you about to hear right here. I second that.
Go. You know that it's us when we talking about sports. Giving you facts on the field to the court. Tune in, we need the support. 1 hour too short, still listen some more. On all your stations, not dropping no music. Stripes like Adidas, but Nike just do it. Down 4 in the 4th, we go for the win. Michael 2 seconds, we taking it in. Buck, Mike, and Combs, you know what's going on. Man, now we're After Dark, no LA, we the big spark. No 4th and inches won't cut you short. Got the best talking, it's all sports. Buzzing more than buzz beaters. We coming live all through your speakers, go.
And what is going on, Man Hour Nation? It's your boy, Brandon Combs, coming to you live on this beautiful Sunday night. Man, I gotta tell you, these weekends go by way too damn fast, but we'll get to all that in just a minute. Before we bring on our special guest joining me tonight, I do just want to go ahead and tell you, go ahead on the Facebook or the YouTube page, whichever one you're watching on us right now, click that like button, click that share button, subscribe, do all those things that you got to do to be on here. And if you are a $5.99 or higher subscriber, you can win a trip with the Man Hour crew to Las Vegas during the NFL draft. Again, $5.99 a month for the next 6 months. Put you in the drawing for a trip to Las Vegas during the NFL draft. So definitely join us. Subscribe, like, comment, share. There are points given away for every share, every like, every subscription, every comment that you make. Everything adds up into points. The more points you get, the more entries you get. And that's the way to do it. So without further ado, let's bring on tonight's co-host. You guys know him lovingly as a guy who, when we play No Way or No Way, which we will tonight, always has a kinda way. He is the man from Infinity Sports. He is Wayne G. Wayne, what's going on, buddy?
What's going on? Glad to be back on the show. You know, you guys can jump on my back and I'll carry you like an empty briefcase.
It's got to be an empty briefcase. I don't know. I'm a little bit heavier than an empty briefcase, Wayne. A little bit. So, how's your weekend going?
It's going pretty good. My face is a little bit red today. Some people can't really see it because I have a kind of a dark studio here. But went to the beach today and got some sun. And I am an Irish gent, which means that the minute the sun rays hit me, I turn lobster red.
Oh, I'm a redheaded Irish fellow myself. I know all about being in the sun too long. One thing for me with weekends, man, is they always go by way too damn fast. Like, way too fast. Like, I feel like I just left work probably about 3 hours ago on Friday. And now I'm about, 2 to 3 hours from needing to hit the sack so I can get up and go back to work again. Like, it's ridiculous.
Well, it has to be carefully planned out. So, like, I find that, like, I'm married, I have a daughter, so there's always those trips to Storyland or to the beach or things like that. Mm-hmm. And what happens is you can't plan your whole weekend doing that. You got to have one day where you sit around and do nothing. Because if you have all kinds of stuff to do during the weekend, you get to work, you're more exhausted than you were on Friday before you left.
That's the truth. That's the truth. But see, then, like for me, I don't know about you. I don't know what your work schedule is like, but for me, I'm working like 55 to 60 hours a week. Then I do the show 5 nights a week. So there's really no other time for me to do all the other things other than on the weekends. Like I don't have time to go out, to the Storyland with the family or to go do the grocery shopping or anything else that we need to do during the week. It always has to be on the weekend. So my weekends are always jam-packed and full.
Yeah, you definitely have to have some you time, to kind of just relax and just chill, lay in the pool or something.
Yeah, absolutely. Drew, what's going on? Drew in the chat says, howdy, boys. Drew is one of our, I'm telling you, this guy as a listener is probably the most loyal listener we've ever had. I mean, he chimes in every day. He chimes in and talks about, when it comes to shop talk, he gives us, hey, let's talk about this or let's talk about that. and he is on just about every night. And half the time, he's either on his way to work or he's already at work. And then our buddy here, Mike Reeves, says, "Stop sobbing about the weekend." I can't help it, Mike. I can't help it. Hey, I'm headed up, I believe, in 2 weeks to Minnesota, where Mike Reeves is at for work. And I actually, one of my sales manager just told me that he may have some tickets for the Cubs versus the Twins, and may have some box seats for us for that week. So that would be pretty cool. It's be a pretty decent trip. I'll see if I can get you in there. Except you keep calling me out, Mike Reeves. Wah, 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 wah. I want to hear some lame opinions on sports. Well, if you want to hear some lame opinions on sports, you can always go ahead and join Mike Reeves and the boys, and Mike Reeves and GBG. You know, they've got some lame takes on sports. But here in the Man Hour, we do not have lame takes on sports, sir. We have them hot takes. We have them fire takes. That's what we do. Even when Wayne G's on here, we let him have some fire takes every once in a while, too.
Yeah, my takes are more logical and sensible than they are hot. So I think if you find logical hot, then yeah, my takes are Margot Robbie.
All right. So speaking of hot takes, there's been a lot of discussion since last Thursday when MLB had the Field of Dreams game. Did you watch Field of Dreams game?
I did not, just the highlights.
Oh, man. You missed it, man. Dude, from the opening until the final out, which was the walk-off for Tim Anderson and the White Sox, from the opening with I mean, baseball couldn't have done it any better with that opening. Having Kevin Costner coming out and having the players come out through the cornfield was awesome. Then the game itself. I mean, the White Sox are up 7-4 heading into the top of the ninth. The Yankees come back and take an 8-7 lead. Then the White Sox with the walk-off in the bottom of the ninth to cap it off. It was just a perfect night for MLB. I don't think MLB could have really done it any better than the way that they did it.
No, it's a great opportunity to market the game, which they do a lousy job at. And
yeah, for sure.
This obviously it's movies, pop culture. People love movies, and this is very nostalgic. Field of Dreams came out, 1988, 89. So people are seeing that. I felt where Major League Baseball dropped the ball a few years back. Remember the Indians were in the World Series, and they didn't ask Charlie Sheen to come out of the bullpen throwing the first pitch? Like, how awesome would that have been? You know, but they do such a lousy job of those opportunities. This was a home run for them. I did see somebody, like a meme that floated around saying, next they got to play at the Sandlot field. That would be awesome. I mean, if they could just have movie fields, that would be so cool.
I said that the other day. So that kind of leads me into my next question here, and I'll give you my opinion. I want to hear yours first. Should baseball do a Field of Dreams game every year? Rumor has it that next year it's going to be the Cubs and Cardinals at Field of Dreams.
They should do it every year, but I think they should do the White Sox every year because it was the Chicago White Sox, the Black Sox that, Kevin Costner built the field for, Joe Jackson. So do the Cubs and the White Sox, do the Cardinals and the White Sox, do the White Sox. But it's always got to be the White Sox, kind of like the Thanksgiving Day game is always the Detroit Lions. You got to have the Chicago White Sox as the Field of Dreams game.
See, I disagree. I feel like they can't do better than what they did already. Like, the Field of Dreams game, not only with the opening, because what are you going to do? You're going to have Kevin Costner come out there every year and have the players come out of the corn every year. It's going to take away from it every single year. And then the game itself. I mean, sure, you might find another game that's just as good or just as balanced, but you're going to find a lot of lame duck games in there as well, especially if you do Cubs versus Sox next year. Cubs probably aren't going to be very good next year. I mean, they've already lost 11 straight since trading away everybody in the organization at the trade deadline. But I just don't feel like that would be a good game. Even Cubs-Cardinals, I don't feel like next year that's going to be a good game. So there might be some years where it's a lame duck. But, however, even if you have a lame duck year and you go, say you play, like I had said, and this was before I even saw it on the meme on Facebook, they need to play at the Sandlot next year. I also said not only the Sandlot, but then the year after that, Bull Durham. The year after that, the field where they filmed The Natural. The year after that, I mean, you can keep going and going. Obviously, you can't do where Major League was filmed because, I mean, they don't play in that ballpark anymore, for one. And for two, it's just Cleveland's home field. So
it's actually the Milwaukee Brewers' home field.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They filled it in Milwaukee. But, well, that field, too, is gone. So Milwaukee's had a new field since then. So I just don't... I don't subscribe to the fact that they should do it every year. I don't know. I think it just takes away from it. I think sometimes you find these things like hockey. Hockey did the outdoor game, right? And it was once a year, and you would see. Now they've got like 4 or 5 outdoor games a year, and it's just like, okay, cool, like great, you're playing outdoors again. So are me and my buddies on Saturdays, going down to the lake and the frozen pond, and we play 2 outdoors. Cool. Like, it's just not, it doesn't have the same nostalgia as the first one, or even when you were just doing it once a year. Now that you're doing it 5 times a year, I think that baseball is going to ruin it if they keep doing it. They did it so perfectly. It was the most watched regular season baseball game in 16 seasons. It was, I mean, it had every aspect, again, from the opening. The opening was perfect. The opening was absolute perfection. They can never do it better than what they did it already. And then the game with the ending, with the walk-off and the Yankees coming back, like, it's just, why try to do it again next year? I just don't understand. I don't get it. I would just say, we did it once and this is how it ended. Like, it's just, to me, it's too perfect, and baseball has a way of overdoing stuff sometimes.
Well, you have to look at it like in the movies in general, since this was a movie baseball field. In a movie in general, you have a big box office success. Do you not make a sequel? Like, you're almost obligated to do it. You have to.
All right.
So you do the sequel.
But how many times is a sequel just as good as the first? Almost never, right?
Almost never, but occasionally. And yeah. Terminator 2 is better than Terminator. Some people think Godfather 2 is better than Godfather. I didn't like either one. So
oh my God, you didn't like either one?
They're too boring.
Wow. Okay.
So, anyways, what I'm saying though is like those, you have to see how it does next year. If the ratings go down next year for the Field of Dreams game, which I don't think it will because it's still new enough. But if the ratings go down, they say, okay, maybe we'll do it once every couple years, every 3 years. But if the ratings are high again, then you got to make a trilogy, and you just do it until the ratings drop.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't like it. I just feel like it would get outdone. But maybe it'll be better the second time around. I don't see it happening that way. But I mean, I guess never say never. I mean, what we on Fast and the Furious 942 right now. So, I mean, sometimes you can just keep going just for the sake of keeping going.
Can't wait for that Fast and the Furious Jurassic Park crossover.
And I'll be there watching it in theaters and IMAX. That's just how I am. Like, I love the Fast and the Furious series. I can never get enough of it. Even though I sit there half the time and we just went and saw, what was it, Fast 9, the new one that came out. And half the time I'm sitting there with Michelle, we're sitting at IMAX. I'm like, it's really cool for the effects and the sound and everything. But then they do stuff and you're just like, really? Really? And at one point, the movie theater got silent, and there was an older guy behind us, and he did the same thing. He's like, "Yeah, okay," and the whole freaking theater just erupted up laughing because he's just, it's far fetched, but it's fun to watch sometimes.
Well, and the whole best thing to come out of that whole Fast 9 was definitely the family memes with Vin Diesel. And yeah. I think maybe one of my favorite ones was the one where Loki says, "I have an army." And Tony Stark says, we have a Hulk. And then Vin Diesel says, "I have family."
Yeah. See, those are getting just as old as the freaking movies are now, though. There's so many of them. It's ridiculous. So, but all right, guys, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we are going to get into some NFL talk. It was the NFL's first week of preseason. What did you guys think? Join us here. Give us 2 minutes. So we will be right back. If I can find the button with the break.
ManHourRadio.com.
He kills me with that one. I keep telling him we got to get that one fixed, and I always forget which one it is. And then I push it, and then we're sitting there in the dark for like 8 seconds afterwards.
I think I hit that one too. It's like 45 seconds of black.
Yeah, it's every once in a while it's like, maybe I'll take a couple extra seconds. But so getting back into it, guys, if you want to, go ahead and hit that like button, hit the subscribe, hit the share, everything that you can on Facebook and on YouTube. Get all your friends in here. Get your family in here. Let us make their heads explode too with our takes. No?
Well, not my takes. Okay. I think it'll be more like, let Wayne educate you on the way the world works and the way that the sporting world works.
Yeah, okay. Well, let's educate me then, Wayne, because this weekend was the first weekend of the NFL preseason, and a lot of people were impressed with Justin Fields. I was impressed with Justin Fields. A lot of people were impressed with Mac Jones, impressed with Trey Lance, impressed with Zach Wilson, but not so much impressed with Trevor Lawrence. So we'll get to Trevor Lawrence in a minute. Do you subscribe to the notion that the other ones that I mentioned, like Mac Jones and Justin Fields and Trey Lance specifically, do you subscribe to the notion that they should be brought along slowly?
So specifically, no. On a case-by-case basis, some quarterbacks do need to be brought along a little bit slower. Trey Lance does. He absolutely does because he's so raw. He was a very Cam Newton-like running back in college, quarterback, where he would run for as many touchdowns as he threw for. So he's a guy who really needs to learn how to actually be an NFL quarterback. He needs to be brought along, learn the game. Justin Fields, the issues that he had, he doesn't go through his reads very well, or he didn't at Ohio State. He was a one read and first option, I'm throwing. And people brought up the fact that his second option passes were a high completion rate because he only threw 4 of them all season. And then the last one, Mac Jones, I would say he doesn't have to wait. Cam Newton's garbage in New England. Anybody is better than Cam Newton. So Mac Jones should not have to wait. He should be the starter day one.
Yeah, look, guys, Mac Jones, again, you're competing with a guy in Cam Newton who's a former NFL MVP, but he's at the tail end of his career. And the same thing with Justin Fields. You're got a guy in front of you who's Andy Dalton, who's never even proven that he can win a playoff game, let alone proven that he deserves to be a starter over Justin Fields right now. And then you look at Trey Lance, who is in a very much different position with Jimmy G in front of him. Jimmy G just, 3 years ago now, brought the San Francisco 49ers to the Super Bowl. And since then, they've been dealing with injury after injury. I think it was something like, I remember reading 56 injuries last year for the San Francisco 49ers. So they were hurt, and Jimmy G and that San Francisco 49ers team, not only are they playing in a very good division, but they've still got a very good team. They've got a very solid team with players who just went to the Super Bowl just 3 years ago. So I don't subscribe to the notion. As a matter of fact, I think it's a stupid notion to ever think that a guy needs to sit just because he's a rookie. I argue with the guys all the time, especially, when we talk with Buck and we talk with Tori, they're both like, well, I mean, if you bring him in and he gets clobbered by the Rams in week 1, you might shake his confidence. Well, then if I shake his confidence because he lost one game in the NFL, that tells me he's not suited to be a quarterback in the NFL. It's not about shaking his confidence. If he doesn't have the confidence to learn from a loss and grow from it, then he's not an NFL-ready quarterback, period. And to subscribe to the notion that a guy like Justin Fields or a guy like Mac Jones need to sit behind guys like Andy Dalton and Cam Newton to learn what? So if Andy Dalton goes out there and goes 0-3, what exactly did you have Justin Fields learning behind him?
Well, he had 3 extra weeks to learn the playbook.
Yeah, but great. But he already learned the playbook. He already knows the playbook. So the same with Mac Jones. What do you mean he doesn't know the playbook? He went out there on Sunday. The Bears scored 20 points. All 20 of them were while Justin Fields was on the field.
Right, and they run 35 plays with Justin Fields, and Andy Dalton knows 160 plays in the playbook. I'm saying he just doesn't know the whole play. Now, Mac Jones is a smart guy, but even Mac Jones, I think he's a better quarterback than Cam Newton, but he doesn't know the playbook as well as Cam Newton, especially that New England Patriots playbook. It's over 1,000 pages. That's how incredible this playbook is. And somebody like Mac Jones coming in, he's only going to be able to do a portion of it, but...
So you think that Andy Dalton knows the playbook? Andy Dalton's only been with the team for 3 months.
I think he knows the playbook maybe more than Justin Fields does.
Why?
Because he's been in the NFL.
He's been in the NFL, yes, but they've only been in this system for just about the same amount of time. They signed Andy Dalton right before the draft, and then in the draft they drafted Justin Fields. So they've been on the team for, let's say Andy Dalton's been there for about a month longer.
Sure, but Justin Fields has been running a pro-style offense for 3 months. Andy Dalton's been running one for 10 years. So that's why it's a little bit different, because he does know the NFL offenses a little bit better. There's terminology that's different, yes, but the plays themselves are very similar. And I'm agreeing with you to an extent. If Justin Fields goes out there, I think Justin Fields would benefit from a year on the bench, learning the game. However, to your point, if he goes out there and he shows that he is better than Andy Dalton, like he can win games and Andy Dalton can't, then I think you have to let him learn on the fly. You throw him to the fire and say, listen, man, you give us the best chance to win. And even if that's only 5 games, you give us the best chance. He doesn't, so you're the starter. But I don't agree with saying you're a rookie, you should sit. I think that Justin Fields should sit. Trey Lance absolutely should sit. But again, if they show you enough that you're like, wow, this guy's better than our starter, then you got to make the change.
So you feel like Mac Jones needs to be the starter in New England week 1?
Yes.
So why is Mac Jones' situation different than Justin Fields' situation?
Because Justin Fields, the quarterback in front of him, is serviceable. New England's is not. They have a guy who's
Andy Dalton serviceable though? I mean, Andy Dalton was not very good last year in Dallas, and he's got a lot more weapons in Dallas than he has in Chicago right now.
That Dallas offensive line was beat up last year.
What do you think this Bears offensive line is? This Bears offensive line has been beat up for 5 years.
Even more of a reason to let Justin Fields sit. You want to do the Joe Burrow thing?
Why? Because Justin Fields is more mobile. Justin Fields is more mobile than Burrows even. Justin Fields is a quarterback that can escape pressure, and he showed that yesterday. That line broke down on him 3 or 4 times, and he didn't take 1 sack.
Right. Well, he does very well as throws on the run. What I'm saying with Joe Burrow, though, is that Joe Burrow they wanted to let sit for a year, but he won the job in camp because he was better than their starter. And so then he gets hurt because their offensive line is crap. And again, he's going to be ready to play game 1, which is great this year. But I think that there's certain guys that need to sit and certain guys that don't. I know you're going to get into a couple of them. A guy like Trevor Lawrence, I don't think has to sit. And I think he can go into training camp as the starter before he even practices one practice.
So, all right. So let's go there then. All right. We're gonna skip ahead here just a little bit, because you're saying that Trevor Lawrence, a guy who just went out in the same preseason, okay, and in the same weekend had the worst outing of all the 5 rookie quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. And you say he's the most ready to be an NFL starter.
Yes. Him and Mac Jones are both very NFL ready. Trevor Lawrence obviously much more gifted physically.
Huh. So what? I just don't understand. So, like, I got into an argument earlier in the day where the guy says on Facebook, he's like, oh, well, good for Justin Fields, but he was playing against a second string. Well, you're saying that he needs to be a second string. You're saying he needs to be a backup. So if he's destroying the second string, shouldn't he? That means that he's ready to be first string. If he's saying in his interview, I always love the Facebook post, right? Because the Facebook post always takes like half the quote that supports what they want to post, and they throw it in there for clickbait. But so after the game, they asked Justin Fields how he felt about the game. He said, "Well, honestly, it was kind of slow to me and he was talking about his defense, talking up his defense, because I'm used to playing against our defense in practice, and our defense I feel is a lot faster than Miami's defense. So for me, the game was a lot slower today." Well, they took that the game was a lot slower today, and they put that up on their post and like, oh, well, Justin Fields, slow down. You're playing against the second string. Well, if you're saying he needs to be a backup and he's playing against the second string and the second string is too slow for him, that means what? He's ready for the first string, right? Because if you go, why? If you go into anything, like let's talk, let's take it down to even early in childhood. If something goes, if you're in math class and you're just advanced and you know the math and you're this and that and you're far ahead and it's just too slow and it's boring for you, they put you in what? Advanced AP, math, that type of stuff. So because it's too slow for you, they build you up and they give you more. They give you something that's harder. They don't say, oh, well, just deal with it and keep going. Because if they do, you're going to get bored and you're going to walk away.
Okay.
So they challenge you.
instead of comparing it to algebra, which is a complete, false equivalency, let's compare it to football. I have a football comparison that might make more sense. So the New England Patriots go out a couple years ago. Tom Brady, game 1 of the preseason, he goes 2 of 5 on passing for 14 yards, and then he comes out, and then Jarrett Stidham goes in and throws for 125 yards and 2 touchdowns. I guess that they should bench Tom Brady and put Jarrett Stidham in because he did really good against the other team's second-string defense.
What?
Right? Well, because he's
Tom
ready to
Brady's
play
won 7 Super Bowls.
but he's ready to play for the first team.
Well, but okay, so then that's okay. That's just as out there. I think my algebra freaking comparison was closer than that one because
because there's no student ahead of you that's the starter algebra guy.
But that's the same. But all right. So if you put Trevor Lawrence, okay, and say the Chiefs drafted Trevor Lawrence, something happened last year. They had the worst record. The Chiefs draft Trevor Lawrence with the number 1 pick. Patty Mahomes is sitting ahead of him.
Okay.
Is Trevor Lawrence still your consensus starter week 1?
No.
Why not?
Because Patrick Mahomes is not Gardner Minshew.
Well, right. That's what I'm saying. There's a lot different in every aspect. There's different, but it's not like Andy Dalton, and it's not like even for who's the other one we were talking about here? Not Wilson, because Wilson's going to start for the Jets. Mac Jones. Yep. So they're sitting behind Andy Dalton and Cam Newton, 2 guys who are on the tail end of their careers, who at this point are just stopgap quarterbacks. They just are. Mm-hmm. So if they show throughout the course of the preseason that they are just better than what they have ahead of them, mm-hmm. should they start week 1?
Yeah, I just said that. I said if they outplay the starter, then you've got to start them week 1. And by outplay, I don't mean if you have a great game against the second unit, then you should be the starter now. I'm just saying that if you show enough in practice and in these games, because they're not just looking at your stats, they're looking at how you're releasing the ball, they're looking at all those things, how you're going through your reads. If you show that you can handle this team as a starter, you should be the starter.
Okay. I'm saying in order to get them
Lawrence,
first team reps in preseason, you have to make them the first string quarterback, right? You've got to go out there and say, hey, Andy, you're going to take, either take the day off or blah, blah, blah. But at that point, you're putting in a guy, and I think that this might shake a guy's confidence more than having him go in there and just get obliterated for the first 3 games of the season. If you put him in there and say, hey, you're the first string guy, we're going to put you up against first team reps. And then even if he has a good game, not a great game, but a good game, and then the next week you're like, all right, you're back to second string rep. Like, doesn't that shake his confidence more than putting him in there and throwing him to the wolves?
Particularly with a rookie, you shouldn't flip-flop. And that was the issue I had with Brian Flores last year with Tua, where he went Fitz, then Tua, then Tua, then Fitz, then Fitz, then Tua. I'm like, what are you doing? You've got a rookie quarterback, put him in there. And you don't have to go with him. If you don't want to put the rookie in there, let him sit all year. But once you put him in, you can't go back on that decision. And that's where I felt Brian Flores effed up. But I think that in this case of Justin Fields, I agreed with you that he should be the starter because he is looking like he's going to outplay Andy Dalton and give the Bears the best chance of winning if he's the quarterback. However, I understand why he went into this camp not the starter, because he did have holes and concerns in his game coming out of college. Trevor Lawrence did not. And that's why he was going into camp as a starter.
And Justin Fields still, and I said this before the draft, Justin Fields has a tendency to hang on to the ball too long. That's the one knock I had on Justin Fields heading into the draft. But that's something that can be taught. Justin Fields already, through camp and through one, preseason game, has already shown that he can do things that Andy Dalton hasn't been able to do his entire career. Escape pressure, throw on the run. His ball placement and his decision-making yesterday were he's ready to be a starter in the league. I mean, if you go back, have you watched the film on the game, or did you watch the game at all yesterday?
Again, just a highlight. I watched the full Patriots game, but I didn't watch the full Bears game.
Yeah, so if you go back, watch the NFL, like you can watch the 8-minute clip of a game where it's a full game in 8 minutes, right? You can just see the vision that he has when he probably out 4 or 5 times the pocket collapses on him and he makes something happen with his legs. And that's something you're not going to get with Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton was running for his life last year, and I remember one time when he got sacked in Dallas last year, I thought he was dead on the field. I thought he got murdered on the field. That's how hard he got hit. Like, it was just, I swear to God, I called Buck after the hit, and I said, Buck, Andy Dalton just died. And he's like, what? And I said, I'm telling you, they're carrying him out on a stretcher. He's dead. There's no, and so that's what's going to happen to him with the Chicago Bears offensive line, because the Chicago Bears offensive line just isn't, it's not horrible. I mean, Tevin Jenkins is a good ad. He hasn't been able to get on the field yet because he's dealing with some back issues, which you never really want to hear out of a rookie lineman. But Tevin Jenkins was a good draft. They had the other kid that they drafted in the 5th round. He was another good pick. They're building something good. They're just not there yet, and they need a quarterback that can escape pressure from time to time. And you're not going to get that out of Andy Dalton. And it's the same thing with New England up there. They've got a good offensive line, good enough to protect a pocket quarterback, because that's what their offense has been built around for the last 20 plus years. And Mac Jones fits their system better than Cam Newton does. They don't need a guy who's going to take off and run the ball, because he'd rather run than throw the ball. And that's what Cam Newton is. So I think Mac Jones is ready. I think Cam Newton's ready. I think Trey Lance is ready, but the problem with Trey Lance is that I think that he's got Jimmy G ahead of him, and Jimmy G is still a Super Bowl caliber quarterback, and he's still able to produce at a high level in this league, and you're just stuck behind that. It's the same thing with Jordan Love over in Green Bay. You're just not going to give him the ball over Aaron Rodgers. Is he ready? Sure. The Green Bay, the Packers organization seems to love him, but they've got Aaron Rodgers. And he's freaking Aaron Rodgers. So that's the problem that I think Trey Lance is in too. Zach Wilson and Lawrence are in their own category because they've got nobody ahead of them. I mean, you're not starting Gardner Minshew over Trevor Lawrence. You're just not. And Zach Wilson has no competition. I don't even know who the backup is in New York.
James Morgan.
Okay, so like I said, he's got no competition, and Zach Wilson is going to be the starter for the New York Jets. But I don't like my counterparts, Buck and Torrey, they both highly believe that you can shake these guys' confidence by having them go out there and just be a starter week 1 just because they're rookies. And they might lose a game or two. I don't get it.
You could, but I wouldn't be as concerned about that. And the one thing I will say, and I know I'm guilty of this as well, because I'm calling for Mac, you're calling for Justin Fields. And here's the thing that it really boils down to, though, right? Is if I were to ask you, Brandon, the last practice before the game, how did Justin Fields look in practice?
The last practice before the game?
Yeah.
I don't know.
All right, you know who does? The head coach of the Chicago Bears.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm saying about they see things that we don't see. And as a Patriots fan, as much as I hate Cam Newton, as much as I like Mac Jones, in Bill I trust, right? If Bill says this is what's best for the team, I can't really argue with it.
But let me ask you a question though, and we've say this all the time, because I hate the scouting combine, because I don't feel like I've learned anything about, let's say, Trevor Lawrence. Say Trevor Lawrence goes out and has a absolute horrible combine, okay? I've already seen what this guy can do on the field. I already know he's a good quarterback. What does him throwing in shorts have to do with being a quarterback, with no defense, throwing a spiral, even if it's 100 yards downfield to show that he's got a cannon? Like, to me, that's unimpressive. Same thing with practice. Like, I don't care if Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields had a horrible practice heading up into the week. But then if they go and they light it up, if Justin Fields every week is going to have I believe it was a 68% completion percentage, or it might have been a little bit higher. It was 14 to 22. So if he's going to do that every week, and he's going to ball out for you every week, and he's going to escape pressure like he did on Sunday or on Saturday, I don't care how his practice is, because what do I care about how he performs during the game? During the game is what matters. You're not going to show me anything in practice that I'm not seeing during the game.
Right, but you have to understand, too, because I played basketball. I also played football, but I'm not even going to talk about that because that was a nightmare. And I always say, listen, one, I am the worst football player in the history of high school football. Nobody can challenge me on that. I am the worst. Don't even try. Secondly, I'm the only man over 40 who didn't play quarterback for his high school team. So right, every guy you talk to was the quarterback for their high school team, right? So, but what I'm saying is I played basketball, right? And in basketball practice, during practice, if you're bricking 3-pointers all practice long, and then the next practice, because you have a bunch of practices leading up to the game, you're dribbling the ball off your foot, right? And then the coach puts you into garbage time because he was like, whatever, we're showed up at every practice. I'll put you in for the last 5 minutes of the game. We're getting blown out. And you drop 14 points in 5 minutes, right? Then the next practice, maybe you get a few more looks. But again, if you're bricking threes in practice, you're just going to get garbage time again the next game, regardless of what you did the first game. So I think that's what they're looking at with this kid. If he's not looking good in practice, they can't make him the starter. But hopefully he showed enough in this game. They say, all right, you know what? Why don't you take a few of these first team reps just to see how you do with this offense? I'd like to see them give him a shot.
So let's look at that differently. So everybody knows, and I didn't have this anywhere in the rundown, but everybody knows last night that maybe not everybody knows, but if you're a baseball fan, you know that the Arizona Diamondbacks had a rookie pitcher pitch his first game last night in the major leagues, and he threw a no-hitter against the Padres. Okay. Mm-hmm. They asked him about it, and like any other pitcher, he said, "No, my stuff was garbage. I felt like I couldn't throw a strike, prior to the game." This is this guy's first game, and if the pitching coach is looking at him and be like, "Man, this guy can't throw a strike to save his life," what if they would have decided, "Hey, you know what? I don't think he's ready. Let's just say he blew it. Let's throw, what's his face in for a spot start? Our long reliever. Let's throw him in for a spot start. Make this a bullpen game." If they had decided to do that because he looked like trash in practice, warming up prior to the game, then he wouldn't have thrown a no-hitter yesterday. And he came out and threw only the fourth time in baseball history a guy has thrown a no-hitter in his first outing in Major League. Mm-hmm. Like, that's the thing where I say it's about what you do during game time. Sometimes you have a bad practice. Sometimes you have a bad week. Sometimes you have a bad month in practice. But as long as you... you look at guys... When was the last time you saw... I think it was Tom Brady or Peyton Manning? Remember, they wouldn't even play during the preseason. Not even a snap. And then Aaron they would come in and so Aaron Rodgers not playing a snap in the preseason. Tom Brady doesn't play a snap in the He's won 7 Super Bowls. The guy doesn't need... It doesn't matter how he plays in practice. He's still starting on Sunday. So why is that different for a guy like Justin Fields, who proves to you when he's on the field that he can do the things that are needed to be done to win a game?
Because it's a one-off. Because he went into camp with question marks, and if in practice those question marks are being answered yes, then it doesn't matter what he does in the game. He's still... You have that first impression of him or whatever it is. Like you said with the pitcher, if they had put him in the bullpen, he wouldn't have thrown that no-hitter. Well, guess what? The guy that they did have in the bullpen, he might have thrown a no-hitter too. We don't know. So anything can happen, but I'm saying that you're playing the odds. You're saying, what are the chances that this guy gives us our best chance? I'm agreeing with you that I think Justin Fields gives the Bears the best chance. I just understand why they would want a guy who has all that ability, but a lot of holes in his game, time to kind of close up those holes a little bit before they put him in there.
Yeah. All right, so let's get off of the quarterback situation. I think we've dived into that, and I think I'm going to keep going back to Justin Fields because I really want him to be the starter week 1. I keep pushing for it, and I keep clamoring for it. But let's talk about teams, and let's talk about right now the Chiefs and the Bucks are the odds-on favorites to go back to the Super Bowl. So everybody's picking them. They're the lowest odds that you can have, to go out and bet on to go back to the Super Bowl. Okay? Mm-hmm. Who are your sleepers to go ahead and beat these guys? Who's going to knock off the Chiefs in the AFC?
So, hate to sound like a homer. I'm going with the Patriots as my team. You said a dark horse. Is that not a dark horse pick? If I said the Ravens, that's not a dark horse pick. They're probably going to win their division. I'm picking a dark horse. You're a freaking
homer.
I'm picking a dark horse. And the reason that the Patriots are the dark horse is because, 1, Mac's going to start week 1. And then 2, they're going to have the number 1 defense in the NFL this year. They had the number 7 defense in the NFL last year, and they got way better with the guys who missed because of COVID and the guys that they drafted. This defense is lights out, nuts, bananas. They're going to have the number 1 defense in the NFL, and which they've had before under Bill Belichick. And their offense is revamped. So you throw in a quarterback who actually knows how to throw the ball. They might have the best offensive line in football, and at least in terms of depth. This team is... As long as Mac starts week 1, Patriots are going 11-6 and winning that division.
Oh man, All right, so I'm gonna go with a more logical choice. I'm gonna agree with Drew here in the chat, and he says the Buffalo Bills. I think the Buffalo Bills are the most likely, team to knock off the Kansas City Chiefs. I think that the Buffalo Bills showed last year that they have everything that it takes to win in this league. I think that they've gotten better as well defensively. I think they got better, with another year under their belt with some playoff experience now. I just think that team, Cleveland Browns too, are another team that are just a sleeper team that I can just see them going on a run. I actually have in our preseason predictions, I had actually had the Bills in the Super Bowl. In our way too early preseason predictions during the draft, we were doing preseason predictions, and I had the Bills going to the Super Bowl this year. So I could absolutely see the Bills knocking off the Chiefs. I think the Bills are poised to do that. I don't think the New England Patriots are even poised to go to the Super Bowl. I think they're poised for about 7 wins. But, hey, they could knock off the Chiefs. Why not?
Well, I want to educate you on what a dark horse is. So a dark horse is somebody that nobody sees coming.
I didn't say
right?
dark horse. I said sleeper.
Oh, sleeper, whatever. You said the Browns were sleeper. The Browns are going to be sleeping in January is what they're going to be doing. The team like a Bills, it's like your sleeper pick. So who's your sleeper pick for the NBA championship? The Nets? The Bills are one of the top teams in the AFC. I picked a team that nobody's going to see coming.
Yeah, not even themselves.
That's right.
All right. So who's your sleeper in the NFC?
Well, I don't even know if I want to go with an actual sleeper now because you're going to pick the Rams.
Well,
or
you
somebody
can't pick
that.
another home team.
So obviously, I think the Rams would be the favorite to beat the Bucks, but my sleeper is the Cardinals.
Yeah, I'm with you. I am very high on the Cardinals this year. A lot of people think that I'm nuts, especially the guys here on the show, because they are very low on the Cardinals. I think I'm the only one that had the Cardinals winning the NFC West. I think I'm the only one that didn't have the Cardinals in the basement of the NFC West. I think the Cardinals are much improved. I think that they are a huge sleeper. I think that they're a sleeper in their own division, let alone in their own conference. And I'm right there with you. I have the Cardinals as my sleeper to knock off the Buccaneers and possibly make a Super Bowl run. Drew says the Cardinals and the Chargers too. Chargers are another team that, they're very good and they got better. The Rams are another team out there, like you had said, might pick but the Rams, they got infinitely better at quarterback. And that's the most important position on the field, and they got infinitely better there. So, but I think that the Cardinals, man, that defense just got so good, and they're deep on offense too. Their running backs, their wide receivers. They are all around. I think the sleeper in the NFC. I think that the Cardinals can absolutely, positively make a Super Bowl run.
I think that their defense is fast, but I think it gives up a lot of points. So I think the Cardinals are going to end up in a lot of, like Cowboys last year, 41 to 38 type games. And that's fine because I think Kyler Murray can put up 45 points a game. And I think that's especially with that offense, those wide receivers are bananas. So they would definitely be a dark horse. Again, the other dark horse I had for the AFC also comes out of the AFC East. So we got the Bills, the Patriots. I think the Dolphins with that, the Giants, get out of here. With Saquon Barkley going to be reborn again with healthy knees? Is Daniel Jones actually going to be good someday? So
and not get tripped up by the 20-yard line?
But no, the Dolphins, I think with Tua having another year in that offense, actually more importantly, the whole Dolphins offense last year was built for Ryan Fitzpatrick. So Tua was playing in an offense when he played that wasn't designed for him. Now he has an offense that's designed for him, and that Dolphins defense is pretty legit, particularly their secondary. So I think that's in Brian Flores as the head coach. Why not? So the Dolphins are another dark horse team, I think.
Yeah, I like the Dolphins a lot. I think that, and I know this is going to sound goofy. And I said, we were talking pre-show, and I said there's always that one team where the fans think that they're good, but we just know that they're trash. I think that Robert Saleh is going to do a great job of changing the culture with the New York Jets. I really do. And I'm very high on Zach Wilson. I thought he was the best quarterback coming out of the draft. I think that the Jets could be one of those teams that nobody sees coming this year to maybe not go to the Super Bowl, but definitely maybe make a playoff push, make some noise in the AFC East, because I think that they are much improved. I'm a big believer in Robert Saleh. I'm a big believer in that coaching staff, and I'm a big believer in Zach Wilson, and I think they can do some stuff up there in New York.
I believe they might win 5 or 6, somewhere in that range. But I mean, listen, and I feel bad for them because
I think they're going to beat the Patriots twice.
That's not going to happen. The Bills are really great. We just mentioned that they're the team that might win that division. We've got the Dolphins who are going to make a run at it. The Patriots always have a top 10 defense. Always. I think under Bill Belichick, they've only had 2 out of 20 seasons where they had a defense outside the top 10. And like I said, it got even better. What's that?
About to be 3.
No, that defense is stout. I mean, stout. So that's going to be a really good team. The Jets are going to be a 5 or 6 win team. They're not going to really do much. And that's why I say I feel bad for them, because until Bill Belichick retires, the Patriots are always going to be in the conversation in the AFC East. The Bills, by locking up Josh Allen, look like they're always going to be in the conversation, at least for the next 5 or 6 years. What are the Jets going to do? How do the Jets get better? I like Robert Saleh too, and I like Wilson, but I just don't know what they do to actually get to 500.
Yeah, and it's funny. I mean, we keep bringing it up, but I've talked about the Patriots, and my son's a huge Patriots fan. Lived his whole life in New England, so he loves the Patriots. Here's what I think about when I think about the Patriots.
Nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time for that.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and cut to another break as we got Homer Wayne G on the show with us tonight from Infinity Sports. So we will be back in 2 minutes. Welcome back to the show. It is your boy Brandon Combs along with Wayne G from Infinity Sports. Wayne, it's been fun, but it is now time for your favorite segment of all time. It is Way or No Way. We don't have the jingle here tonight. I wish we did, but Way? No way. That was horrible, wasn't it?
That was awful.
At any rate, we will go ahead. We're going to go ahead and move forward. So, Wayne, there, we've talked about Justin Fields. We've talked about Mac Jones. Okay. Your team, my team. So let's just go with it then. If Justin Fields and Mac Jones start all 17 games for their teams, they have a better chance of making the playoffs.
Way. It's not even close. Like, those two guys are better than the guys who are there. Those two guys are ready to lead these teams, in the case of the Patriots, to the Super Bowl. And in the case of the Bears, to 8 wins. So both these guys have the chance to have have their teams do really well. I think the starters there are crap, and you got to make the change. Both these changes are going to happen. If they don't happen week 1, they're going to happen later. So just get it over with.
Yeah, I'm going with Way. They have a better chance of making the playoffs, and this is one of those ones that I threw out there for you because I thought we could have gone with kind of Way on this one because the Bears, I don't think no matter who their quarterback is, I think this schedule. I mean, look, the Rams, the Bengals, the Browns in the first 3 weeks, so I think those are 3 losses no matter who starts for them. Then, they get a little bit of a relaxation week with the Detroit Lions, who aren't going to be very good this year, no matter what Buck says. He has them winning the division. And then they got the Raiders, and then the Packers, and then the Bucks, and then the 49ers, and then the Steelers, and the Ravens, and the Cardinals, and the Packers again. And this is a gauntlet. They got the Seahawks in there as well. They have a gauntlet to run in Chicago. So I think they have a better chance at winning more games with Justin Fields. I don't think that no matter who I think this schedule is just ridiculously tough. With Mac Jones, I think it's a little bit different. I think the Patriots, schedule isn't exactly an easy one. However, they do get to play against the Jets twice, even though I think the Jets are going to beat them twice. They get to play the Dolphins, and the Bills are the Bills. They're the best team in that division. Outside of the division, they play Tampa. They play Houston, which is a winnable game. They play the Cowboys, which is a winnable game. They play the Chargers, who are a better team than the Patriots right now. They play the Browns, who are a better team than the Patriots right now. They play the Falcons, who they can beat. They play Tennessee, in Indy, and then they play Jacksonville. So I don't know. Like I feel like the New England Patriots, again, are in the same boat as the Bears. I feel like they can win more games with Mac Jones than they can with Cam Newton, but I don't think either one of these teams are playoff bound. So this one is one of those ones I could have went kind of Way with. But for the sake of the game, I'm just going to go with Way. Sure, they're both playoff teams with both of those guys because I would love to see it. I would love to see it. How about Bears, Patriots, Super Bowl?
The question was better chance at the playoffs, so that's why it's Way, right? And
yeah, absolutely.
The Bears won't make it, the Patriots will. So,
all right. So we are moving on to the next one here. And so we talked about MLB and the Field of Dreams. So I ask you this. The MLB will learn from what the Field of Dreams game gave them and start doing a better job of marketing the game.
Well, and I would say no way, or ha ha ha, like Major League Baseball has ever learned from anything. They had so many opportunities to market players and teams and their sport, and they just don't do it. They got lucky here. Like, I feel like when they're looking at marketing strategies, they close their eyes and they reach into a grab bag. They pull out a domino that has a word on it. This time it was Field of Dreams. Yeah, you struck gold. But the next 10 dominoes are going to be crap ideas, and they're just going to not learn anything other than grabbing those dominoes.
Yeah, look, I would love for MLB to learn, but you know what? Their commissioner is still the worst commissioner in sports history, and he just does a horrible job of marketing anything. I'm actually surprised at how good a job MLB was able to do at the Field of Dreams, but I think it's because they let Kevin Costner take it over. So I don't think it had anything to do with MLB. I don't think it had anything to do with Rob Manfred. I just think that baseball just does a horrible job. They do a horrible job of marketing their players. They do a horrible job of marketing the game. There are so many things that they can get involved with. Like the Little League World Series is going on right now. There's so many things they could do to have players at the Little League World Series, or to have different aspects of bringing them in so that these kids have something other than obviously the Little League World Series, but they have something to look at. You always hear them talking about who their favorite player is when they're announcing the lineups, or who their favorite teams are, and this and that. why not have a point where you have, like we had the Field of Dreams game. Why not have a Little League World Series game? Have two teams out there for a weekend and have the kids be able to interact with the players and that type of stuff. MLB does a horrible job of marketing. I don't think they're going to learn a damn thing from the Field of Dreams game.
Nope.
Unbelievable. So, all right, so moving on to the next one here. We're going to talk some basketball, Wayne. You ready to talk some basketball?
Ooh, that's my specialty.
NBA Summer League is almost as unwatchable as the WNBA.
No way. The WNBA is like having a root canal getting punched in the face at the same time. It is brutal. At least they dunk in the Summer League, Yeah, like I want to watch somebody make a good backdoor cut for a layup. Come on.
I mean, you can see Candace Parker dunk from time to time, can't you?
Oh, no. Maybe once every 4 years.
I have to agree with you on this one. This one's definitely a no way. The WNBA's product is just so... And see, I don't even know if it's just that bad. I just think that they just don't market it as well. They don't do the things... I don't think it's any worse than watching, the women's college basketball or even watching women's basketball in the Olympics. I just feel like they do a worse job. And I get, people all the time who say, oh, well, I remember this post a couple weeks ago on Facebook. I had a female friend who posted something about the WNBA needs to be, their players need to be paid more and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, really? All right, well, do me a favor. Why don't you tell me in a number how many WNBA t-shirts or hats you have? Or jerseys? Because you have none. So you've done nothing to go help these guys put money into their organization, but you want them to get paid more. You're not buying their product. How many WNBA games have you even been to? How many times have you said, you know what? We should take in this WNBA game this weekend. Never. It's never happened. So don't say that the WNBA product is just, it's not fun to watch. It's not good basketball. I don't think the NBA is good product to watch either. I'm not a big fan of the NBA, as you know, Wayne. I just feel like that there's just no defense. It's a 3-point shooting contest every night or a slam dunk competition. It's there's no defense played anymore. It's not all around basketball anymore. So to me, the NBA Summer League is as unwatchable as the WNBA because I watch just as many NBA Summer League games as I watch the WNBA. It's 0. So for me, it's just as unwatchable. So I'm going to go with Way on this one.
Wow, just as unwatchable. That's crazy. Because I watch the NBA Summer League because I like to see how the rookies do. I like to see, them doing their thing and getting an idea of how good those teams are going to be. Plus, it's basketball, so I'll watch it. The WNBA is not basketball. So, like, if I'm skipping through the channels, I might say, oh, the Orlando Magic versus the Milwaukee Bucks.
Come on,
I'll watch
it's
that.
basketball.
Yeah.
Come on, they're dribbling a ball. They're shooting in the... At least they play defense in the WNBA.
No, they're just bad at offense. Don't be confused. They can't make shots. It doesn't matter that nobody's playing good D.
Oh my God! Did you just say WNBA and playing good D in the same sentence? Come on,
you said it, and I said
this is a family show. Just kidding. No, it's not. Anyway, moving on to the next one. Oh man, we just got demonetized. In 10 years, the NFL will have separate seasons, fall and spring.
I saw this question when you had sent it over, and I thought really long and hard about it. And I'm going to say way. And I'll tell you why, because it's 10 years from now. That's why I'm saying way. Because what I think is going to happen, I think the XFL run by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is going to be a success, which is going to run in that spring, summer. And I think the NFL is going to buy the XFL, and that will be their spring league. So I say way because that's what I think is going to happen.
Yeah, I think way too. Look, everybody is always clamoring for more football. They just are. And in the springtime, you got spring baseball, and then you've got those baseball games in, even though I watch them in April and in May, and I'll watch them religiously, and I would probably watch them over spring football because I love baseball more than I love football. I just feel like the NFL at some point is going to find a way to have a spring season. I just do. And it might be, at that point, it might be all college players coming out, and it might be a rookie season. It might be a some sort of it might be the XFL. It's going to be something where these guys can play to get, a contract for the fall, which is always going to be their premier season, is going to be the fall season. So I feel like the NFL is going to have 2 seasons at some point, and 10 years from now is probably about right. So we're going to take another break, and then when we come back, we are going to have Shop Talk. So guys, go ahead and get your comments in there. Let us know what you want to hear. Shop Talk coming up next.
Shop Talk.
Welcome back to the Man Hour. Wayne, this is the time where we start talking to the fans. This is Shop Talk time. Guys, this is your time to shine. This is your time to tell us what you want to talk about. And we go through some of the comments here. And Drew says Washington football team could be a sleeper. Let's see, Torrey had the Washington football team at 13-4 this year. That to me is insane.
I don't think anybody in that division is going 13-4.
I don't think anybody in that division is winning more than 9 games. I just don't. That division is just. If there is a team I take that back. The Cowboys I have winning more than 9 games. I have the Cowboys. I believe I have them at 11-6. Because I think the Cowboys are the best team in that division. As long as there's a caveat on that, Dak has to be healthy and playing, and I don't know if that's going to happen now. So if Dak is not healthy, nobody in this division is winning more than 9 games. I know that Washington went out and got Fitzmagic, and I know that they got a little bit better at quarterback by getting Fitzmagic, but there's just not enough weapons there for me to sit there and say that this is a team that's going to go 13-4, let alone be a sleeper to knock off the Buccaneers in the playoffs. Is their defense good enough to stop anybody on any given night?
Yes.
Probably. I do like that defense a lot in Washington. I just don't think that their offense can score enough points to win NFL football games on a consistent basis. I just don't. No matter how good your defense is, you have to hold opponents to 17 or less in order to give your offense a chance, because this offense isn't going to explode for 30 points a game.
No, but their defense makes it so they don't have to. If they explode for 21 points per game, they could win 10, 11 games because their defense is really good. But I think Fitzmagic is decent. I think he's a gunslinger, so he's going to lose as many games as he's going to win for you.
Yeah.
I think he does have some weapons at receiver. I think tight end's still pretty solid. I think Antonio Gibson is a legit running back. So I think that they've got some pieces there that they can put up 20 to 25 points per game. If that defense is what I think it is, that could be a team that wins. My concern with the Cowboys, I agree with you, Dak has to play, but my concern is their defense, because Dak's going to have to throw for 6,700 yards this year for that team to win 10, 11 games. So I don't know if he can, but I would probably pick Washington to win that division. I just think it's more like a 9 or 10 win season.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. Drew says, howdy, Jason. Jason says the Jets aren't beating us twice.
Correct. Good job, Jason.
I'm telling you, the Jets are a team that I can see making moves. I think that right now, on paper, the Jets probably aren't better than the New England Patriots because of the defense. Offensively, I think that they're just as good. I think that they are better at quarterback than the New England Patriots are, even if Mac Jones is their quarterback, because I think that Zach Wilson was the best quarterback to come out of that draft. I think that Zach Wilson can do things with that offense that is going to make them a team that is going to not be that 4-win team that we're used to seeing the Jets being. This is going to be... they're not going to be a world beater. They're not going to be an 11-win team, but they can win 9 games, 10 games, and surprise some people and sneak into the playoffs as a wild card team. I really do think that I like Jason Sala a lot. I really do think the Jets can do something big in New York, and I do think that they could beat the Patriots twice.
They could, and they also will not win 9 or 10 games. They do not have that kind of firepower in offense. I like the talent, the arm talent that Wilson has, but he does not have the weapons. Saying that offense is just as good or better than the Patriots is completely asinine. Hunter Henry would be the best receiver on the Jets. Jonnu Smith would be the best receiver on the Jets. Nelson Aguilar would be the best receiver on the Jets. So the Patriots have 3 receivers minimum who would be the best receiver on the Jets. Then you've got Jacoby Myers, and Jacoby Myers, people forget about him because he was undrafted. He was their leading receiver last year. The guy's got hands made of literal glue. The ball just sticks in his hands no matter where it's thrown. That team's offense is really good. They've got a 4-headed running back monster that can beat you up. I just think that they're really, really good. The Jets are really, really bad, so they're probably going to win 4 games.
I like Jamison Crowder. I like Keelan Cole. I like Corey Davis. I think all 3 of those guys are every bit as good as the 3 guys that you just mentioned over in New England. I think Denzel Mims is also a very good wide receiver. And then they've got Chris Herndon and Ryan Griffin at tight end. I think that they've got 2 very good tight ends, 2 very capable tight ends. I think that this Jets offense is better than what people give them credit for, and I think that they are going to sneak up on some teams that are going to take them not as seriously as they need to be taken.
I think you don't know who a single one of those names is, and you just pulled them up on your phone and was like, oh, these guys are pretty good. Let me tell you something.
My phone is over there, sir.
Denzel Mims is good. I like Denzel Mims.
I might have pulled him up on my MacBook, though.
Right. So, but that team is really bad. Those receivers, Corey Davis is the biggest underachiever in the last 10 drafts.
Oh. What about Jamison Crowder? You don't like Jamison Crowder either?
He's okay.
Oh, man. Okay. All right.
What do you think? Is Julio Jones?
No, I don't think that. I think you're giving them. I don't think you're giving them enough. The previous regime, the previous coaching staff, I think, did a horrible job, and it made these players look worse than what they were. Like, I think that over in Carolina, they hit a gold mine by going out and being able to get their quarterback. And why I can't think of his damn name right now.
Sam Darnold.
Sam Darnold. Thank you. I'm so bad at that sometimes. I think that Sam Darnold is a much better quarterback than what people think that he is because he's played with the New York Jets. I think a lot of these players are better than what they are because of what the New York Jets franchise and coaching staff has been making them into. And so I don't know. I think Saleh's going to do a great job of changing the culture there. I think the Jets are going to be better than people think. Drew wants to know what I thought of Jameis Winston's performance. I will be completely honest with you. I have not looked up the game yet. I have not had a chance to watch the game yet. So I don't know what Winston's performance was. Wayne G, do you know what Winston did this weekend?
I know it wasn't good. Him and Taysom Hill, I think, combined for like 8 turnovers or something like that.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not good. If Jameis Winston is still continuing to throw interceptions, I got to look this up now. Look, Jameis Winston and you know me, I've been outspoken. I think that Jameis Winston can be a top 10 quarterback in this league. I think he, excuse me, I think he was a top 10 quarterback in the league last year. I think he was the best quarterback on the Saints roster last year. I don't feel like Jameis Winston gets a fair shake. I think people, 30 interceptions. All right, but 5,000 yards and 30-plus touchdowns. Like, I get it. He's a gunslinger, but so was Brett Favre. And he had how many times where he had seasons with interceptions of 20-plus? I mean, and he's a Hall of Famer. So I think that people are talking about him having sorry, I'm looking up this the box score right now for the game. But I think that he's looking at, Jameis Winston was 7 of 12, 96 yards, 1 touchdown and 1 interception.
Okay.
He threw the ball 12 times and he completed 7 of them. He threw 1 interception and threw for 1 touch. Like, I don't know. It's not a horrible. He was the only one of the 3 quarterbacks that threw for a touchdown. Taysom Hill threw for no touchdowns. He was 8 of 12. He threw for no touchdowns and 1 interception. So, like, I don't know what to take of it. They were playing the Ravens. Who started the game? I don't know who started the game. So I don't know.
Wilson, or whatever it is.
Winston.
Winston.
Yeah. Yeah, so if it was Winston who started the game, he's going up against that Ravens number 1, the first string defense, and he throws for a touchdown, throws 1 interception, and he's 8 of 12. I'm okay with that on the first preseason game of the year. I mean, I'm not, it's not, 14 of 22 like freaking, I just watched Justin Fields do, but Justin Fields had more playing time. Justin Fields had more attempts. So I don't know what to take of that, to be honest with you, Drew. I think that it's probably a decent showing for Jameis Winston just by looking at the numbers. Again, I'd have to watch the game because when it comes to preseason, I don't take a ton of stock into numbers. I take a ton of stock into the eye test. I do the same thing with Major League Baseball. I care less if I'm watching the Cubs play the A's on a Saturday afternoon in March and the Cubs lose 74-2. But you know what I do care about? How the starters perform, the at-bats that they took, the different things that they do. Same thing with yesterday when I'm watching the Bears game. I wasn't looking at the numbers until after the game, but during the game, I'm looking for ball placement for Justin Fields. I'm looking for decision-making when the pocket breaks down, decision-making when he's on the run, check downs, that type of stuff. And with that, Justin Fields blew me away. So whether he was 14 of 22 or whether he was 22 of 22, I didn't care because what I was looking at was his decision-making and the things that he does with the eye test. So in order for me to know how I felt about Winston's performance, I'll actually have to watch it, and then I can let you know, and I will do that. I'll watch that tonight, and I will let you know tomorrow. Ask me again tomorrow, Drew, what I thought of Winston's performance. I'll definitely let you know. Javier Gonzalez chimes in and says, Miami Dolphins will make the playoffs.
Possibly.
I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you. I think they're going to be a wild card team. I think the Miami Dolphins under Tua are a good team. I do like Robert Flores. I hope Tua can stay healthy. If Tua can't stay healthy, they're in trouble. So
yeah,
we'll see.
Because I don't know who their backup is. So.
Drew says, I think Winston did better than Hill. All right, guys, so that's what we have for Shop Talk right now. We are going to take a quick break, And when we do take a quick break, do you have something you wanted to add there on that Drew take on Winston did better than Hill? I guess he did. He threw for a touchdown.
I was going to say that's because Taysom Hill's a tight end.
Yeah, yeah. Taysom Hill is not a quarterback. The fact that he's even taking quarterback reps, I think, is a slap in the face to Ian Book and Jameis Winston, to be honest with you. But is what it is. I'm not the New Orleans Saints, and I haven't won a Super Bowl like their head coach has, so who am I? Anyway, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we will get into some more sports talk. Stay with us. 2.5 minutes. And welcome back, guys. While we were on break, Ryan James Chafee chimed in. So what do you guys think of Jones' performance? Obviously a quarterback of the future in New England, but do you think there's any chance he plays this year? I mean, I think we both are in agreement, Wayne. I think he's the better quarterback right now. I think he's better than Cam Newton. I think he needs to start week 1. I feel about Mac Jones the same way I feel about Justin Fields. I don't see any reason why they need to sit under a quarterback who's not going to perform as well as they would if they were starting. Doesn't make any sense to me.
No, I think he could start week 1. It could happen. I think that Bill Belichick drafted him with the idea that he was the quarterback of the future. I think he sees he's the quarterback of now. Yeah. I will say this, though. If he starts Cam Newton week 1, it would take something catastrophic to get Mac Jones in, because once Bill's made up his mind, its mind's made up. And I think that you would have to have either Cam get injured or he would have to have like a 5-interception game or something like that. They really like Cam in New England. They really like him because he's got a great work ethic. That's not even up for debate. His work ethic's like Tebow-esque. Very big work ethic. His teammates love him. Great locker room guy. Yes, he sulks in the media press conferences, but he's a great locker room guy. So Bill likes him a lot. I think Bill wants to give him the shot, but I think from what we saw week 1, I don't think he's going to be able to. And I think Cam and Mac Jones both split the snaps in the second preseason game, and that's going to be the determining factor with Mac starting week 1.
Yeah, I don't see any scenario where a head coach, especially a head coach like Bill Belichick, is going to allow the better player to not start. There's just to me, and I've said this about here in Chicago with Justin Fields. It's the quickest way to lose your locker room, even if you're Bill Belichick. Because if the players on the team know that the best player that gives them the best chance to win is sitting on the bench, they're not going to respect your decision making because they don't think you're making the best decisions in their best interest. The lifespan of NFL players is so short, and their chances to win are so limited that they don't want to waste even one game of not having the best players out there. So you're going to lose your locker room if you don't start the best player. And right now, I think that the best player in New England is Mac Jones. I think he's the best quarterback on the field, best quarterback on the roster. He needs to start week 1.
In most cases, I'd agree with you, but here's the thing about New England. I know that you were here a little while ago, so you should know this. Bill Belichick could start Isaiah Wynn at quarterback week 1, and he would not lose that locker room.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I used to joke around all the time and say it was unfair for New England football because they had God as their head coach and Jesus Christ as their quarterback. It was it was ridiculous. But no, I mean, look, I get it. Maybe you get a little bit more leeway, but you can't. I just don't. It doesn't make sense to me to not start the best option week 1, and right now that is Mac Jones. I think Mac Jones, if you're going week by week basis, if you're going with the power rankings week by week, quarterback power rankings for the New England Patriots, right now Mac Jones needs to be number 1, wouldn't you say?
I would put him number 1, but again, in Bill I trust. Whatever he decides, I guess is what's going to go.
All right, so moving on. I'm not going to lead a show without talking some baseball, and baseball playoff races are starting to heat up. The Mets I don't know what's going on there. They traded for Javier Baez. I don't think they've won a game since Javier Baez has been a Met. And now he's on the DL. They're getting their butts pounded by the Dodgers again tonight. They've dropped from, I think, first place last weekend. They're down into third place now. I think there's something like 6 games out of first now. It's ridiculous what's going on in New York. But we've got some really good playoff races. The NL West is shaping up to be a great one down the stretch. The AL East is shaping up to be a great one down the stretch. The Boston Red Sox are in the same boat the Mets are. They can't seem to buy a win lately. Who are your favorites for this year's World Series?
Well, the first one is my preseason favorite, which is the Dodgers. I thought that they were the best team going into the season. I think at the trade deadline and what they've done, I saw all the memes again, like the Dodgers.
They murdered the trade deadline, and Trey Turner just went yard too.
Yeah, so I mean they're just stacked beyond belief. I think that's the team that's going to go for the NL. For the AL, I actually was going through and I picked the Boston Red Sox, and not really a homer movie because I don't really like baseball, but the reason I picked them is because I think they have a very good offense, and the question for them has been their starting pitching. Chris Sale just came back and looked pretty good in his start, so I think the AL is wide open, and I just said, why not the Red Sox?
Yeah. I mean, go figure. You picked a homer team. No, when you look at the races right now, I think the Dodgers are very good, but I think the Padres are just as good. I think that the Dodgers did what they did at the trade deadline was because they knew the Padres are that good. And it's funny because I sit here talking about that, and I'm pretty sure the Giants are still in first place. I haven't checked the standings today, but I'm pretty sure the Giants are still leading that division. And here we are talking about the Dodgers and the Padres, and we're forgetting completely about the Giants. I think at some point the Padres and the Giants Padres and the Dodgers overtake the Giants. And the Giants still end up in the playoffs. I think 3 teams from the NL West go to the playoffs. But I think my favorite for the World Series for you in the National League, I'm agreeing with you. I think it's the Dodgers. As much as I'd love to see the Dodgers go down, I can't stand Los Angeles sports. I can't stand their fans. So I'm really hoping the Padres can pull something off, or any other team can pull something off and beat the Dodgers. I just think the Dodgers are hands down the best heading into October. I mean, that's going to be a pitching staff that is just going to be tough to score runs off of in October. And then in the American League, like you said, I mean, it is wide open. I I'd hate to discount any team in the American League, but right now, the Chicago White Sox, and you tell by the stuff behind me, I have no White Sox stuff behind me. I'm a Cubs fan. The Chicago White Sox, I think if they can have a lead into the 6th inning, that bullpen is ridiculous. Absolutely locked down. 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th inning, they've got you locked down. So if they take a lead into the 6th inning, you're in trouble. And I think they're going to be a tough out. I think that offense is just scrappy. It's young. They remind me a lot of the 2016 Cubs, that they just don't go away. They're never out of it. Excuse me here. But I just think that the Chicago White Sox are right now the best team in the American League. So I'm going to say the Chicago White Sox in the American League.
How about a rematch of the Astros and the Dodgers?
Man, as fun as that would be drama-wise, just because I think the over-under would be, I think, 50 of blown-up trash cans that get thrown out on the field in L.A. during the World Series. I mean, drama-wise, I think it would be fun. I wouldn't want to watch that again. I don't know. I don't like the Astros. I don't like the Dodgers. And even though I would watch because it's the World Series and I'm a baseball guy, I would love to see different teams in there. I would love, to be honest with you, I think the best World Series we could possibly hope for, the best World Series baseball could hope for, when it comes to play-wise and excitement-wise, will be the Padres and the White Sox. I think that would be a really fun World Series to watch. I think you watching Fernando Tatis versus Tim Anderson, a lot of flair there. You would have just so many different storylines. I think each team is a lineup that is never out of it. I think that each team has the star power. I think each team has a pitching staff that can lock you down at any time. I think it would be a lot of fun to watch the White Sox and the Padres go at it.
So it might be the best baseball, but it wouldn't be the most intrigue. Like I said, like we talked about,
right.
The Astros and the Dodgers, because they hate each other so much, and because of everything that went down a couple years ago, would be so good for TV. And we talked about it earlier on the show. We said, did Major League Baseball learn anything about marketing? Well, the person they could learn the most from is the NBA, because the NBA does the best job of marketing of the 4 leagues. And what they could learn from the NBA is how to fix it so that Houston and LA meets to boost the ratings.
Yeah. And how fitting would it be is that you have the Dodgers versus the Astros again. The Dodgers are all pissed off about the trash can incident, but the Dodgers are also the reason why we have to check pitchers now. I mean, if you remember, it was a Dodgers pitcher who got caught against the Mets when the Mets were complaining about it verbally, and then it got all blown up, and now all of a sudden we're checking pitchers in between innings. So now it's a Dodgers cheating scandal versus a Astros cheating scandal. I don't know, man. I wouldn't like it. I'm not a big look. Dodgers, first of all, the fan base is horrible. They don't show up until the 3rd, and they're gone before the 7th inning. There's a horrible fan base all year round. All you're going to see during the World Series in LA is freaking actors and actresses showing up to LA and watching their first Dodgers game they've ever watched in their entire lives, but it's because they're in the World Series and they can get on camera.
Well, when you were talking about how the Dodgers cheated with the whole substance and all that stuff, I've said it a million times. I said it back when the Astros got busted. I'll say it again. I've played sports my entire life. I played 4 varsity sports in high school, and if you're not cheating, you're not trying. So you show me a team that's playing it clean, and I'll show you a bunch of losers.
All right. Well, let's switch topics here. Let's get into the NBA a little bit. Now, NBA free agency has really picked up, and it's kind of turned the NBA on its head because, I mean, look, the Los Angeles Lakers have, I think that they just signed Michael Jordan because they are signing everybody and anybody who is willing to go play in LA with LeBron and chase a ring. So who for you has won the offseason?
It's really who came in second, because it is the Los Angeles Lakers. When you look at what they've been able to do, what they've added, let's just start with Russell Westbrook in that trade. Now, I know that a lot of people don't like Russell Westbrook. I've said that Russell Westbrook might be the most underappreciated player in the history of the NBA, in the sense that this is a guy who averaged a triple-double 4 times for a season, but before it had only been done once, and it was like 60 years ago. So this is a guy who's a phenomenal basketball player, and he plays with that Kobe passion, with that AI and that KG kind of passion. Doesn't always play with his head, but that's why LeBron's there, because LeBron is a smart player. Maybe he can reel him in a little bit. But you got that move. The signing of Carmelo Anthony, oh my goodness. The guy averaged 20 points per game for 36 minutes. Now, he didn't play 36 minutes with Portland, but per 36, he averaged 20 points. That's a guy who's going to come off the bench and put up 15 in the first 5 minutes that he's on the floor. He's the most versatile scorer I've ever seen in my life. KD's there, but KD doesn't post up as well as Melo. Melo's the best, or the most versatile scorer I've ever seen. Dwight Howard averaged 15 and 17 per 36 last year. He's coming off the bench, I think, or maybe starting. Kendrick Nunn shot 40% from 3 and averaged 15 points per game. Wayne Ellington shot 42% from 3. Bazemore shot 41% from 3. Ariza's a 3-and-D guy. This team is insane. I think this is a team that could rival that 73-9 season, maybe be a 74-18.
Wow.
Health pending, because the AD's got to stay healthy.
So who other than the Dodgers, the Lakers, won the offseason?
So other than them, I know your Bulls kind of came up because they had some big signings. I didn't really love all the signings. I think Lonzo's a tremendous player. I've liked him since he was in college. The problem I have with the Lonzo signing is that he put up the same stats last year as Kobe White. And you also signed Caruso. So what's going on with White? So he's obviously on the way out. And then you've signed DeRozan, who's a 31-year-old version of Levine. That's what Levine's going to be in 4 years when he can't jump anymore. So you've got basically 2 of the same player there. So now Levine, I think, has got to be on the move. He's been rumored to be traded for years. He can't work out a contract extension with them, and he's only got 1 year left on his deal. So they're going to move on from Kobe White. They're going to move on from Zach LaVine, and you're going to be stuck with Lonzo, DeRozan, and Alex Caruso. That's why I don't really like that team. So I would probably go with the New York Knicks, who, bring back Derrick Rose, bring back Julius Randle on a really good deal. Kemba Walker on a 1 year, $8 million, Eric Fournier and Alec Burks. I think that the Knicks probably did the best job outside the Lakers.
So you didn't like the Bulls signings as much. So I thought that they were great signings. Now, I like the kid. I can't think of his name right now. Plus, I couldn't pronounce it even if I tried. The kid that they just drafted out of Illinois, Dosunmo or something like that. I like his game too. I think that eventually he may be able to replace a Zach LaVine. But I don't know. I like it in the interim. I like having Ball, LaVine, and DeRozan for the next 2 to 3 years. I think that
it's just going to be Ball and DeRozan.
You don't think LaVine's going to?
He's going to be gone before game 1. He's getting
You think
traded.
so?
He can't agree on a contract extension with them. They just signed 2 huge extension deals or huge deals with Lonzo and DeRozan, and now you're going to give Zach LaVine 5 years and $195 million? They're not giving him that, and that's what he wants. So he's only got 1 year left on his deal. If you don't sign him now, he's gone. So they're just going to trade him.
So you're going to have Ball, probably either Kobe White or Caruso, and then DeRozan, and then probably not Lauri Markkanen. So I would say probably either Patrick Williams. Who's the other guy they got there? Brown, Troy Brown Jr. And then you got Vucevic too.
Wendell
Vukovic,
Carter.
Vucevic, however you say it. I don't think they have Wendell Carter anymore. I thought they traded him.
Oh, I thought he was still there.
No, I don't think they have Wendell Carter anymore. I'm pretty sure they traded him or they let him go. As a matter of fact, I'll look it up right now. Let me look up the depth chart.
But anyways, like I said, the 2 big moves they made, it's the pre of 2 trades they're going to make of guys who put up similar numbers last year.
Yeah, so they don't have Wendell Carter anymore. They do have a guy named Simi Shitty. And his last name is spelled Shitty.
He's only semi, though.
Yeah.
He's not completely.
Semi Shitty. Okay. At any rate, so no, Wendell Carter's not there anymore. And so, I don't know. I like what the Bulls did. I do like what the Knicks did, though, too. I think that the Knicks, that fan base, man, God, do they deserve a winner. That fan base has suffered through some garbage in New York. They've suffered through some horrible years. As a Cubs fan, I completely understand what they are going through. I would love to see the Knicks play well. I think that the Knicks, next to the Lakers, I think that I would agree with you there. I think that they've probably won the offseason. Next to the Lakers, again, have signed everybody. I think they've signed family members of LeBron. I think they've signed, anybody who wants to be a basketball player is now a basketball player for the Los Angeles Lakers. So I agree with you there. So, of course, I'm not really much of an NBA guy, so my word doesn't mean much. But the fact that I agree with you tells me that I was, looking at things the right way, I guess.
The two best signings, individual signings, I think, were the Pelicans getting Devontae Graham from the Hornets for $12 million a year. It's a guy who averaged 18 points per game not last season, but the season before that. Last year, he was like at 14 or 15. But he's a guy you're going to add to Ingram and Zion to help them get to that playoff push. And then, of course, Dennis Schroeder, who I don't know what happened. He turned down $84 million with the Lakers, and he signs a 1-year, $5.9 million deal with the Celtics. But
and then didn't he go out and buy like a freaking Bugatti or something?
Lamborghini. It looks like a Tron car.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's for $5.9 million for 1 year. I mean, Dennis Schroeder's a really good signing for the Celtics.
Yeah. And the Celtics are always one of those teams that seem to be in the mix. So, I mean, I really do love the Bulls signing of Alonzo Ball. I think that's a piece that they can at least build around, even if they don't have LaVine. Even if DeRozan only has 2 or 3 more years left in the league of being a stud, then I'm okay with that. I think that the Bulls made some good moves. I know you don't like them, but I do. I think compared to what we've had here in Chicago over the last 5-6 years, since Derrick Rose, heyday, I think that the Bulls have made steps in the right direction towards putting a watchable product on the court. If that makes sense.
I'm curious what they do with LaVine, because I was trying to think, who's a team that they could trade with, and I thought maybe they trade with Sacramento, right? Because Sacramento is looking to move Buddy Hield and Marvin Bagley. First of all, if you could add both those guys for LaVine, Bulls are in really good shape there. But I also thought, Ben Simmons, because the Sixers are looking to move on from Ben Simmons, but then the problem is you have 3-point guards who can't shoot threes. So,
yeah. I don't want Ben Simmons in Chicago. I just think Ben Simmons might be a headache in the locker room, which isn't really something that the Bulls need to take on at this point in time. They got enough headaches in the front office; they don't need any more in the locker room. So, I don't know. I like the idea of them. Oh, God, there's a lot of teams that I could see them trading with, but I like the idea of just keeping. Why can't you give LaVine the 5-year one net? Why? What's stopping you from doing it?
They don't want to.
Well, but why? That's what I'm saying. I don't feel like there's any. I'd rather keep LaVine than trade him. And no matter what pieces you're even if you are trading them out there for Bagley, I don't know. I'd rather keep LaVine with Ball and DeRozan.
I think they're concerned about giving $44 million a year to a guy who, might only play 50 games a year over that span.
Yeah. I mean, it's true. I mean, you're always worried about guys who can't stay healthy. LaVine has shown that he's very injury prone. So I don't know. I mean, I guess we'll see. Moving on, we got some more NFL stuff here. We talked about preseason football. Now, is preseason football the only preseason you care to watch? Or do you watch other stuff in the preseason?
I mentioned it earlier. I watch preseason NBA for the same reason I watch preseason NFL to a degree, which is to see how the young guys look, see their athleticism, see if they look promising. I know they're actually in a much worse situation in terms of evaluation than the NFL, because at least the NFL has all the starters out there playing against each other at some point. In the NBA Summer League, you're watching basically the number 1 draft pick playing against grocery baggers. That's who he's playing against. Yeah. And so then he drops 22 points, and you're like, wow, this guy's going to be great. No, he's going to average 8 in the regular season. But I still enjoy it because it is basketball, and I enjoy the game of basketball. But I will say this about the NFL preseason. To me, I get just as excited as I do about the NFL regular season. I'm like, NFL's back, and I get so excited to watch it.
Yeah. Look, I do like watching the NFL preseason, especially this year as a Bears fan. I think it's more exciting when you have a brand new franchise quarterback coming in and you're able to see the things that he could do. I mean, watching him with a standing ovation when he took the field is one of those times. Same thing with Mac Jones, standing ovation when he takes the field. I always wonder what guys like Cam Newton and Danny Dalton are thinking at that point. Hey, I'm right here, guys. I can hear you. What are they feeling on the sidelines when stuff like that is happening, knowing that everybody wants to see this guy and doesn't want to even see you take the field for the team? But I do. I enjoy watching it, but for different reasons. I don't care. Even though the Bears won on Saturday, I wouldn't have cared if they lost, 20-17 or 20-14, whatever the final score was. Because I care more about how the players are performing. I care more about watching if Justin Fields is doing the right thing, or if the receivers are running the right routes, or if the offensive line is opening up holes for the running game, or if the defense is doing the right thing. So, and plus then you get a chance to see the younger guys. But baseball, I love baseball preseason as well for the same reasons. I'll watch baseball preseason to see some of the guys that we've got in the minor leagues. I want to see them play more than I want to see the starters play, to be honest with you. I want to see what the players of the future are doing, or if say I don't even know any names of players that are playing for the Cubs right now. But at any rate, say if one of the starters go down, I want to be like, oh, well, it'd be pretty cool, see this guy in the majors soon, or this guy was hot in March and playing well. Let's see what he's got, So I do like watching preseason sports just for that aspect of things, but that's because I'm a sports junkie. I understand why the average fans don't really get excited for much, spring sports, but the preseason sports, I think NFL is probably the most popular. I'll say that much. Yeah,
and I like the preseason baseball. My favorite part of it.
You're on mute, or did I lose you?
Oh no, can you hear me? Sometimes I lose my mic.
Uh-oh.
You hear me there?
I don't hear you.
Oh, what is going on? Doesn't look like I'm on mute.
Wonder if my AirPod died. Let's try that. Can anybody else hear Wayne right now? Chime in. Drew, are you there? Can you hear Wayne? Can you hear me? Maybe I'm the one that's muted.
I can hear you, so I know you can't hear me.
Huh. Try to mute him and unmute him. I didn't mute you this time. I'm not playing a joke, I promise.
No, I checked it. I didn't see it.
Well, my AirPod's still on.
Yeah, very weird. I can hear myself.
Yeah, there we go. I gotcha. All right.
Oh, okay. That was weird.
Huh.
All right. But anyways, I was saying I like the preseason baseball when the pro team plays the local college team. Like if the Cubs were to play University of Illinois, just because I like seeing the kids play with the wooden bats, and then I also like seeing them get pounded like 28-2.
Yeah. That's I like watching a lot of different sports. I like watching preseason sports. I also like watching youth sports. I love watching the Little League World Series, even the Little League Softball World Series. I love watching stuff like that because those kids are playing with passion. They play for the love of the game. They're just out there having fun. And then you see the kids crying. I always love laughing at the kids that are crying because they lost. Haha. Your parents aren't teaching you nothing. What are they teaching you? That it's okay to cry when you lose?
There's no crying in baseball.
Jesus, I lost you again, Wayne. What is going on?
What?
Hold on, let me try this. I keep losing you. Everybody else says that they can hear you. I keep losing you.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with that.
Got to be something going on here with my side of things.
Might have to try a different set of headphones.
What it could be, though. I didn't press anything. Huh. All right. Well, it's kind of hard to do a show where I can hear you, but give us a minute. We're about to take a break anyway, so let's just go ahead and take a quick break, and when we come back, we will get into some more shop talk. Be back in 2 minutes.
So we are back. It looks like Brandon is not in the screen. It is just me, and I cannot take away this little man-hour radio. Oh, here he goes. Hey, there you are.
There we go. Now I've got sound again. I had to leave the studio and come back. I don't know what happened. I wasn't having any audio at all, even during the break, so I went back and switched to the old school headphones, which look all bulky and, look like I'm trying to pull in freaking alien sound waves or something. But at any rate, sorry about that, guys. So we're going to get back into some more shot talk. We've got a lot of stuff coming through. I want to get to a couple things here that I've seen. We have Javier who says Miami Heat preseason is good.
Well, we talked about it earlier, Javier. I don't like the Miami Heat's offseason because while they did get Oladipo on a veteran minimum, which is a great get for them, I feel like Lowry is just as good as Goran Dragic. So basically, your team made a $90 million signing to be just as good as they were last year. And I think with the other teams in the East improving, I think Miami is like a 5 or 6 seed in the East.
We're just going to call this question, segment, we're going to call it Basketball Questions for Wayne, because I know nothing about it, so I'm not even going to chime in. And then Drew chimes in here and says, Wayne, what do you think would be better if everyone is healthy, Lakers or Nets?
The Lakers only because of depth. I think the Nets are top heavy, and they're heavier than the Lakers on top. Obviously, Kevin Durant, I think, is better than LeBron James. Anthony Davis, I think, is better than Kyrie. And then you've got James Harden, who is fantastic and, on the same level as Russell Westbrook in terms of triple doubles. However, with all the Lakers signings, I think that they can go 12 deep. Like literally the 12th man on the bench is a guy that can come in and put up 15 in quick time. So I don't think the Nets are that deep. I also don't like Steve Nash as a coach and Mike D'Antoni, the two of them. It's all offense, no defense. So I think Frank Vogel has a little bit better of a balance there. So I think the Lakers over the Nets in the series.
All right. And then finally a question that I can chime in on. Javier says, I think Tebow will do a good job on his new team. This one's interesting to me because, look, I think Tebow got a raw deal as quarterback in the NFL. I thought that Tebow could have had a longer career than what he had. I thought he should have more chances than he had. I don't understand what went wrong with Tebow as a quarterback in the NFL other than people saying he wasn't a quarterback, which is news to me because last time I checked, he won a freaking playoff game and then never got another shot. So I don't understand what the big deal was there. I just think that Tim Tebow is now older. I don't think he's going to even make the roster as a tight end. I think that he's going to end up as a coach in the NFL, or he's going to end up back in the studio, doing pregame shows, or maybe even some color commentary on a couple of games. But I don't know. I'm just not doing. And I'm telling you right now, I completely agree. And I saw this meme on Facebook a couple weeks ago. If Trevor Lawrence throws a touchdown pass to Tim Tebow in an NFL game, don't turn on ESPN for like 2 weeks because that's all you're going to hear about. That's all you're going to hear about.
Well, it was one of the top stories when he threw him the touchdown pass in practice.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We're talking about practice, not a game. Practice. Like, I don't know. I do too. Drew says I like Tebow. I hope he does well. I like Tebow as well. I really do. I hope he does well too. I don't wish ill on the guy. I just, at this point in his life, what is he now? 33, 34?
Yeah, he's up there.
And coming on to try to be a tight end, learning a new position against guys who've been playing that position their entire lives. I just don't see it happening. I really don't.
Well, and I think it's funny that you say that you are rooting for Tebow. First of all, everyone should be rooting for Tebow. Is there a better human being on the planet? We should all be striving to be like him, right? But, and I mean, aside from the religion thing, he just seems like a genuinely really nice guy. And yeah. I will say this, a little backstory for those who don't know. So Brandon and I used to work together at a retail place that sells home goods. It rhymes with blows. And
that's how the management was too.
So, and I'm a pretty cool cucumber. Anyone who's ever debated with me knows I don't really get rattled. I stay pretty even keeled. And the last time I really remember losing my cool in an argument was with Brandon in the blows break room about Tim Tebow.
Because I turned my I changed my opinion on Tebow after those conversations, because watching Tebow in the NFL, the guy, look, was he unorthodox? Yes, but he was a winning quarterback. He was a winning quarterback in the league, and then never got another chance to play quarterback in the league. I don't understand how you could be a winning quarterback, win a playoff game, and then the next year, nah, we're good. If it was anybody else, any other quarterback in the league, they would have been the starting quarterback the next year.
Well, I will say this too. If you guys like me on the air, I'm actually a much better writer than I am a radio personality. And I wrote a blog recently called What If, in honor of the Marvel Studios What If TV show. And it was 5 what if sports questions. One of them was, what if Tim Tebow had chosen the Jaguars? So back in 2012, Tim Tebow was traded from the Broncos, and he was given the option, do you want to go to Jacksonville or do you want to go to New York? If he had gone to Jacksonville, he would have been the starter the day one in camp. Instead, he chose New York because he thought it would have been a bigger platform for what he's trying to do off the field. And I think that Rex Ryan completely destroyed his career. So in my what if he'd gone to Jacksonville, I think he has a much longer NFL career.
Yeah, I don't disagree there. I just find it funny where in a league where guys will come out of nowhere. I can't remember who was the guy out of Green Bay who tore it up when Aaron Rodgers went down, got a big contract in Seattle, and then they drafted Russell Wilson.
Right. Well, in the 3rd round, and he ended up winning that
the starting job the next year. Yeah, but this is a guy who got such a big contract because he won when Aaron Rodgers was out, and then never got to start another game because he got outplayed. Tim Tebow won playoff games. Tim Tebow, I never got another shot. I don't get it. It's not like the Jets were such a great run organization that all of a sudden they just have this quarterback that who did they start that year? Was it
Mark Sanchez?
Was it Sanchez?
Yep.
Butt fumble himself.
Yep.
I mean,
and then the last game of the season, when they decided to bench Sanchez, they didn't put Tebow in. They put in Greg McElroy instead.
Yeah, it boggles my mind. But at the same time, it's just I just think that now Tebow is poised to be a coach in the NFL, and it'll probably be with Jacksonville. It probably will be, and that's where his future is going to lie. I don't think he's going to make the team. So, unlike Javier, I think that Tebow will do a good job on his new team, but I think it'll be as a coach, not as a player.
Yeah, I wouldn't say he'd coach either. I think it's just too small of a platform for him. I think he either wants to play or, like you said, go back to the booth and do college game day.
Yeah, absolutely. So that is all the time that we have for tonight on Man Hour. Guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the night. Wayne G, thank you for stepping in. Why don't you tell the people where they can find you?
Absolutely. If you want to check us out, we are a member of the Belly Up Sports Network, so you can visit bellyupsports.com and you can find our podcast there. Our podcast is on every single podcast platform. If you try to find us and we're not there, let me know. I'll make sure that we get on there. And, of course, social media-wise, Twitter is the best way to get a hold of me, at SportsInfinity5. It's right under my name here. If you have any ideas for the show, I'm very, very open and interacting. I know that Drew actually saved my butt when I was doing the solo show here. Drew was sending in comments, and I really, really appreciate that, Drew. And since then, he's friend requested me on Facebook, and me and him talk sports off the air.
Yeah, absolutely. Drew is great for that. Drew will text me all the time talking about different things or different ideas for the show. He's actually working on some merchandise for the show, too, which reminds me I have to send him the logos and give him permission to use them. But yeah, no, Drew's great for that, and you do a great job over there. I've caught a couple of the solo shows. You do a great job, with your interviews, with your just running a solo show is really hard. For those of you that don't know, I mean, it's easy. I think it's easy if I'm sitting here talking with a friend about sports, like I talk with Wayne G, or I talk with Buck, or we get on there with Buck, Tori, and Wyatt. Like, we can all talk because we're talking back and forth and we're bantering. But when you're staring at a camera, and you're just talking to yourself, sometimes you get lost. You don't know what you were gonna say next. All of a sudden, you thought, oh, well, I'll just do this. You're not getting any feedback back when you say something. So it's like you have to like argue with yourself, and it's not the same. It's not the same type of show. It is very hard to do, but Wayne, you do a great job over there. So kudos to that. And thank you for stepping in when you do step in here on the Man Hour. It's always appreciated. It's always a good time. Always a good time having you, man.
Yeah, it's always tons of fun. Yeah, it's about the solo show, like you were saying. Just a lot of times I end up just staring at my notes and I think, how can I get 15 minutes out of the WNBA? Well, ponytails are cute. Write in if you agree.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Wayne G, before we get out of here, any closing thoughts? There are no closing thoughts, Wayne G. You just got muted, buddy. Man Hour Nation, rise up.